All right, so we're here today for, oops, what are we here for today? I think I opened up the wrong PowerPoint. That's not good. But I know what we're here for. We're here for proximal hamstring or for hamstringing pain, how to help our body with keeping our pelvis control really good, as well as with making sure that our SI joint and our back stay super, super happy. So just give me 1 second to pull this up here. Today has not been my day with technology, everybody. Come on, that's crazy. All right, that's all right. I don't really need my slide. It's fine. Okay, so we're going to get started here. So what I'm going to start by telling you all is that I am a pregnancy and postpartum exercise specialist. And one thing you might think is, well, I haven't had kids. This might not apply to me. The thing is, though, a lot of athletes actually have a pelvic positioning that is very similar to what happens after pregnancy. So I do think that this information is applicable to a lot of people. I've actually never had kids, but I have the classic postpartum posture, which, like I said, a lot of athletes have. So I'm going to show you on my pelvis model what that looks like. So this is what we consider to be a neutral pelvis, which is actually slightly what we call anteriorly tilted, which is a little bit forward. So if we have the pelvis here, we're going to have a lot of an easier time with doing sports and doing strengthening. But if our pelvis is tilted more, a lot of anterior tilt, a lot forward, what that's going to do is it's going to change the way our muscles work. And it's going to make it harder for us to access all of our muscles and keep especially our knees, our hips, and our back really, really healthy. So this is why it's important for gymnasts to know about pelvic positioning. It also has a lot to do with diastasis, which I've covered in other calls. So diastasis recti, to refresh if anybody doesn't know, is going to be talking about a separation of our ab muscles. When our pelvis is a little bit out of alignment, like I just showed, we're going to have a lot more of a chance of having that diastasis. And if we have it, it's going to be a lot harder for that to heal. So in terms of gymnastics, we have to think about what we're typically doing with our work. And so for gymnastics, we're going to get a lot of activity in the front of our quads here. And we're going to get a lot in what we call our hip flexors here. And then we're going to get what we call the six-pack muscle or the rectus abdominis. These are all muscles that help us do a flip. They help us do a leg lift. They help us do a kip, which is all, of course, important. But that ends up meaning that we don't work as much our deep abdominals, deep inside of our core. And we also don't tend to work the back of the leg, and in particular, the back of the leg right near our butt. That's the area called the proximal hamstring, and that's the area that we're going to explore today and really make sure that we're able to access that. And the cool thing is, if we can access it in our conditioning or our rehabilitation type movements like this, we're going to have a lot easier time accessing this when we're doing our conditioning for gymnastics, as well as when we're doing our skills. Why it matters is because the less we can access these muscles, the more likely we are to have knee pain, hip pain, groin pulls, adductor strains, sore backs, sore SI, something that pretty much every gymnast I know has experienced. And so I'm thinking that by teaching you guys this circuit, which we're going to go through today, you're going to really notice if you're able to access those muscles. And I think it's going to help you guys out a lot. So the movements that we'll be doing, like I said, there's 6, and I'll go ahead and show you a round of each of the first 3 that we'll be learning. You can watch me if you want to start trying that, that's great. And then I'm going to do 2 more circuits with everybody. And if you would like me to watch, then that's a great time for me to do that. And so we will make sure that we have the equipment that we're going to need here. And so for this particular workout, you want to have a pair of dumbbells. You actually just need 1 though. So for this particular thing, we'll need approximately a 2-pound weight, a 1, 2, or 3, anything in that neighborhood would be fine. You also can have a yoga block on hand in a chair. So you'll see I've got this folding chair, and that's a great thing for you to have, or else a sofa or something like that. So I'll give everyone a chance to grab those items. We will be using a wall as well. So try to set up in a place that you can easily access your wall. And I think that will be a big help for you. I'll give everyone a minute to grab that stuff. And also, if you guys want a recording of this after the fact and you didn't sign up for it, feel free to pop your email into chat and I'll be able to get that over to you, no problem. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started with the first 3 moves. Okay. The first move is going to be a proximal hamstring binding exercise here. I think I'll probably move this closer so we can see really well. All right, so I'll be on my back. And what you want to do is have your feet up right around your knee height. Okay, like so. And you want to be lying flat. You want to have your palms up and your arms just kind of out to the side, out of the way. So what we're going to do here with the feet against the wall, and you want to make sure that they're parallel as well. We're going to imagine like we're driving or digging our heels down the wall. And what you should feel with that is you should feel that it's almost spinning your pelvis under like a wheel. So it's spinning your pubic bone up toward your head just a little bit. And that kind of spins that. And we're trying to feel behind the legs. Now, go ahead and do that a couple times to just get that feeling. We ideally want to keep our belly muscles relaxed here because we don't want to teach our abs to do this job that the hamstrings, the back of the thigh, should really be doing. Now, once you've gotten that, I'm going to have you go ahead and hold it and see if you can bias more tension toward the hamstring part that is closer to your butt. See if you can bias more tension there. And this could take some time. I have a lot of people that will literally work on this for a couple months before they can finally get it. So if it's not clicking right away, don't feel bad. Just keep working with it. Working with it will help. And when you finally get it, it'll be really exciting. All right, so that's proximal hamstring with feet on the wall. We're going to do a similar movement with our feet on the edge of a chair. Now, I find that some people, this clicks for them better with their feet on the edge of a chair. For some, it clicks better when they have their feet against the wall. So I think trying both is great, but I think that ultimately we want to be able to do it in all the positions. All right, so you'll be on your back with your feet right on the top, just like that. So I've got my heels on the top, I've got my toes in the air. You do want to have your legs bent 90 degrees here. We're going to do the same thing, spin the pelvis under like a wheel, and then let that go. Spin it under like a wheel again. So we don't necessarily want your waistband of your pants lifting into the air like that. That isn't the goal here. The goal is to spin that pelvis, all right, and be able to hold it, and then tell your body to make this part closer to the hip be doing the work. That's our proximal hamstring, the part of our hamstring closer to our hips. All right, so that's the second movement. Okay. And then the third movement is going to be the hands and knees, lower abs with hamstring engagement. So for this, you will also want a wall, but in this movement, you will be in your hands and your knees. All right, so we're here. And setup wise, you want to have your shoulders over your wrists and your hips right over your knees. You want to have your arms just soft here so that they're very slightly bent. The pointy part of your elbow points straight back. Okay, so here's our start. You'll notice my feet are against the wall. I'm going to drag my ball of my foot up the wall, but I'm not actually going to move my feet. But doing that should activate back here. Once we've got that and we're holding it, we're actually going to show you my core here. So we're going to let just the lower part of your abs dip down, and then you want to bring it up. So we're trying to start at neutral, dip down, and bring it up. And if you notice that your upper back's doing some funky stuff, like it's hunching up or sagging down, try to get that all in order. We're trying to be pretty neutral with our spine. All right, so that's the third movement. We are going to get started with our circuit now, and we'll be going through each movement for about 30 seconds, just enough time to really work on it, and then we'll move on, because a lot of times as we go, something we do in one of the moves will help the other, and you ultimately end up sometimes getting there by just spending less time and not getting frustrated too. So let's go ahead and get started with the hands, the hamstring on the wall, proximal hamstring move. You'll be on your back, feet on the wall. So this round I'll show And I'll continue to show if nobody's on video, but if somebody's on video, I'll go ahead and watch. So first round, let's get started here. So you're going to think of dragging your heels down the wall. They won't actually move. We're turning on the proximal hamstring of the hips. We're going to actually try to hold this for the whole time. If you need a break, take it. That's totally fine. Sometimes people will cramp. You want to be mindful that your toes are all just resting against the wall, but you're not gripping or clawing your toes at all. Okay, so almost done here. 5 more seconds. Trying to keep your butt relaxed, trying to keep your belly muscles relaxed. Good, and we'll go ahead and switch. So let's now work on proximal hamstring with the chair. Okay, just getting set up with the chair. Okay, so heels right on the top. Make sure that your legs are bent 90 degrees. Palms are up, you're on your back. And what we're going to do now is spin that pelvis like a wheel, pressing into the chair. This version, you don't usually need to dig your heels back as much, but if that helps you, feel free to do that. That's fine. So we're engaging, we're spinning the pelvis, and then we're letting it go. And we're going to try to hold that after doing a few reps, seeing if we can hold. I personally find that this one is more fatiguing for me, but it's really different from person to person. Okay, 5 seconds left. 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. All right, so those first 2 moves, we didn't want a lot of ab work there, but for the next move, yes, it's going to have a good amount of abs. But we're also including those hamstrings too. And so it is important for us to teach our body that we can utilize our abs with our hamstrings. We want to make sure that we're doing it in a way that keeps our pelvis really balanced. So here we go with the hands and knees, hamstring on wall. So you'll have your hips over your knees, your shoulders right over your wrists. We're digging or dragging the feet up the wall to start. Go ahead and find that nice neutral spine, long neck. You can tip your head side to side and make sure that you're not overly contracting your neck to get here. Elbows, pointy part faces back. You're using your scapular muscles to do it. Now we're all ready to go. Now you can dip. Think about it as if you have pants on that are just below your belly button. Dip the pants down and then bring them up. Dip just the pants. Try really hard not to dip your mid back or your upper back. It's super, super challenging. And I spent a lot of time watching myself in a camera to make sure I was doing it right. And I actually haven't done these ones in a little while, so I hope I'm doing it well for all of you guys. Trying my best here, but dipping down and coming up. Over time, you should start to feel your lower abs burning. We don't want as much in the upper. Most gymnasts have weaker lower abs than upper abs, and it will affect things like back tucks, like hips, pretty much any skill in bars. It will affect your posture on your events too. So really working those lower abs can be great. Don't forget about dragging your feet up on the wall. Let's do 2 more. Some people will call this like a twerking move. I'm twerking on the wall, which is a good visual. It's definitely similar. All right. So that was round 1. We're going to go ahead into round 2 now. 30 seconds more of each move. And I don't count the setup time because there's definitely a lot of components to set up. So that's why it might feel like longer than 30, but I'm really not starting the time until we're doing the movement. All right, so you can go on your back, feet are against the wall, and with the wall we can explore just a little bit wider legs versus the chair. You'd be limited by how wide you could do it. So go ahead and try wider legs this time and see. You also can explore trying with a yoga block between your knees, and of course in that case it would have to be more narrow. But for some people, when they squeeze their legs together, they're actually going to get a better hamstring contraction. I personally find I do better without the block, but you can try that and see how that feels. But either way, we're going to go ahead and try holding this one. Even pressure on your feet. Don't let your toes do anything weird. Keep those toes nice and flat against the wall. No gripping, no arching off the wall with those. Holding the proximal hamstring contraction. Abs are relaxed, glute are relaxed. So when we're trying to find a new muscle we don't use a lot, it's generally good to do that muscle in isolation so that we don't have other muscles come in and take over. So for a move like this, I don't want your abs helping, but there'll be other moves down the line that we might explore that will be utilizing a lot of muscles at once. But like I said, if we're trying to kind of help a muscle catch up, we don't want to complicate things by making the move, bringing in all these body parts. You can relax there, and then we will go ahead back to the proximal hamstring with our heels on the chair. Great. So heels right up on the chair, toes up. And we're going to spin that pelvis like a wheel. We could do reps of 5-second holds. We can also try holding for the entire time. I generally find if you can hold for the entire time, you're usually ready for something a little bit harder. So these first two moves here are moves that I would utilize when somebody is new to finding these muscles and making sure that they're on. But after that happens, then we wouldn't usually spend as much time with them. I offer programming individual, and what I can do is set people up with a plan that's more catered to their needs and their level. But for just getting started with this work, what we're doing now is perfect. All right, let's do 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. So hopefully we're getting some burn in the back of the legs. That's what we're shooting for with this. Hopefully not too much cramping. All right, so then we'll do the hands and knees one. So we're on our hands and knees, hips over the knees, shoulders right over the wrists, nice flat straight back, dragging up the wall. Now go ahead and drop that waistband and then pull it up, keeping that long neck. Go ahead and continue with this. This one can be done more quickly, maybe a second down, a second up, and a second hold is fine. We're trying to feel like hamstrings and lower abs both here. And the other trick to think about is don't let your hamstrings give up just because you let your back come down. So for a lot of people, it's one or the other. They can't keep their back neutral or work their lower abs while they're using their hamstrings, and that ends up happening in our skills as well. You can stop that if you haven't already. So if we're not able to keep our hamstrings on in something like a beam routine or a floor routine, well then guess what? That's when the back starts to arch, and that's when you lose your lower abs, which are really what keep our posture really good. So the more endurance you can build in these muscles, the better your skills and your routines are going to go. So if you'd like some water or having a quick break, that's a great time now to do it while we get ready for our second circuit here. So the first circuit was more of a warm-up. They should have been a little bit easier movements, not as strenuous. And then the second circuit will be a little bit more advanced. So the first movement of this grouping will be the wall bridge. So we are going to be in a similar setup to our proximal hamstring on the wall. But for this, we are actually going to go ahead with reps up and down. So you're on your back for this one. We're going to still do wider feet. You want to make sure though that you keep your knees over your feet and you're not knock-kneed with this. Feet should be parallel. We're going to imagine the front of our hip bones joined together, and we're going to draw our pelvic floor up. Both of those actions help our muscles, part of our lower abs called our TAs, or our transverse abdominis. They help them come on a bit. So if you place your hands right above your pubic bone and you think draw pelvic front hip bones together and pelvic floor up, you should feel a little bit of firmness under your hands. Now we're going to slowly roll up. I only want you to go up as far as you can without arching your back. So keep mindful of that. So that's what that one is. All right, and then the next one we'll be doing is a more challenging one even than that one. It's a long lever wall bridge with pullover. That's a mouthful. So for this is where you'll have the weights. You can have just one weight and you'll have it around 1 to 2 pounds is usually good to start. If you don't have a weight, no worries. Some people, it's actually too much for them to have the weight right away anyway. So don't worry if you don't have it. You can just make a fist if you don't have the weight. But we're going to have our leg on the wall, but this time we're going to be bent about 135 degrees. So a lot more of an open leg here. And you'll see that my other leg is just free in the air. I'm going to tuck my pelvis under it and I'm going to lift my body, hold my arm straight up in the air. I'm going to do a calf raise on my left side.
And then as my heel comes down, I'm going to return my arm. So my arm goes overhead when I raise my heel, and it comes back when I bring the arm back. You do want to keep this, the free leg bent about 90 degrees during that. And of course, we would do both sides with that one. And then we'll do an exercise called a cook glute bridge. And that one we will want a yoga block for. Just one block is plenty. You're going to have your foot on the block, and you'll be in your back in a glute bridge set up. We'll also have both legs hugged in toward your chest, and you're going to lift your body up and then lift it down. Okay, so just up and down like that. I'm going to have you guys actually reach your left arm, and that's going to give us a little bit more in the way of glute contraction. If you can manage all that. If it's too much, feel free to keep your arm down, but we're just going up and down that way. All right, so those are the first, or the second three, I should say. So we're gonna go ahead with the timer, and for the wall glute bridge, we'll get started with that one. So you'll be on your back. We're gonna have feet wide, knees over feet. Take the time to imagine hip bones drawing together, pelvic floor up. Feel that slight firmness underneath your fingers. It shouldn't be a lot of firmness. If it's a lot, that means you're using your six-pack muscles. We actually want you to use your TAs, which are more your corset muscles. We're going to peel the body up and then slowly go back down. Never let up on this. Even when you touch your butt to the ground, I want all that to stay contracted and engaged. You can do breathing of exhale up, inhale down if you like. That works well. We just don't want to hold our breath. So any style of breathing that you can do without holding your breath is great. Try one more rep of this. All right, so we should really be feeling the backs of the legs now on that one. So now we'll do the wall long lever hamstring with pullover. All right, so for this, we'll get started with left leg on the wall. And that's the one that's bent 135 degrees. Right leg is bent, and you'll have that 190. You're going to lift up. Actually, I said that backwards. I'm sorry. We'll do right leg on the wall, left leg up, lift your hips. There we go. Oh my gosh, I don't know what's wrong with me today. I was right the first time. It's been a while since I've done these. Left foot on the wall, right leg bent, right arm up. We're gonna do inhale breath on the touching the floor, and then exhale as our arm goes up. Go ahead and do a calf raise as you move your arm overhead, and then let that heel come back to the wall as you return. This one is a little bit more intense. We won't do as many. And as you go back with your arm, really reach long. I want you to think about painting a big giant rainbow with your pinky finger. Inhale back, exhale forward, and one more time. Okay. All right, so other side. All right, I'm not going to use a weight on this side because I injured my shoulder and that would not be appropriate for me, but you guys can use a weight as long as you're all good. And so we'll do inhale back, exhale, arm forward. So as we inhale back, our heel comes up, and as we exhale, the arm comes forward. You're thinking about reaching really long through your arm. You're painting a big giant rainbow with that pinky finger. Let's do two more together. Trying to keep your body still so that you're not letting your hips drop as you're doing it. All right, and now we'll do the cook glute bridge. So for that, you'll have your block once again. Let's do right foot on the block. Left knee is hugged into your body. And we're going to hug that knee, and we're going to reach the left arm up. And by reaching the left arm up, we're getting a little bit of scapular mobility. We're also getting more core engagement with this movement. So because it will have the right leg and the left arm, so we're getting that reciprocal action. So let's go ahead and lift up and down. If you're finding that your leg is cramping, you can move your foot a little bit more away from you. You can ditch the block, or you can do this with both legs. If you do it with both legs, it would just look like this. So those are all options. Let's do a couple more with this leg. All right, let's switch it up so that the block will go under the other foot. Okay, and we're hugging the knee in. We're reaching with opposite arm, so left leg works, right arm is up and down. So just up and down here. One breath per repetition. We don't want to hold our breath. You also want to hug your knee in gently, but still hug it in. Don't let it start flinging away because that's going to take away some of the weight of your leg. And then you're going to get less of a workout with it. All right, let's do 2 more of these. All right, so we'll take a quick break. Let our legs rest before we do the last round. All right, so let's get into our wall bridge. So we'll be on our back, feet against the wall, nice and wide. Our knees are as wide as our ankles right now. Feet are parallel. We'll engage, thinking front of hip bones come closer to each other. And then pelvic floor can be drawn up a bit. And holding all that, we're going to go up and down, taking our time here. Just tapping the back of your pelvis to the floor and then coming right back up. Don't let go of that TA engagement, those lower abs. Nice and slow, taking a good 3 seconds up, if not longer, and 3 down. There's no need to hold this one at the top though, so it's better to actually go up slow and not worry about holding it. And all those toes are down. All right, let's do 1 more together. Okay, awesome. And then we'll get into our long lever pullover. So we can go with, see if I can get it right this time, left leg on the wall, bent 135 degrees, and then the other leg is going to be bent 90. So you can lift. And now we'll have the right arm, since it's the opposite leg on the wall. We'll inhale as we do the heel raise, and then we'll exhale as we come back. So our hand is over our chest. Inhale and exhale. Arm goes back as our heel comes up and arm comes forward. And we'll do another 2 here, keeping that hip right where it is. Great. We'll switch sides. If you've scooched away a bit, you can scooch in. Holding ourselves up to start, really reaching long through that scapula and the pinky. Inhale back, heel raise, exhale, come up. Other leg is 90 degrees. Like I said, if you can't have a weight, no worries. It's still very effective even without a weight. Let's do last one. Good. Okay, and we'll do our cook glute bridge to finish up. So for this, we have that block right under our foot. You can do left side. We'll hug our leg in, right arm's extended, and we'll go up and down. If you're finding that you're working more the front of your leg and not as much the back, you can have that thought of digging your heel back toward your hips and getting that hamstring on that way. So just up and down here. This one can be about 2 seconds up, 2 down. Keeping that knee hugged in close. Let's do 2 more. And we can switch. Okay, so block under other foot, hugging that knee in, left arm is extended, and we'll go up and down. And the muscle we're working right here is a great muscle to help us with our heel drive and our front handsprings, as well as the back leg and our leaps. So a lot of this stuff is really applicable to your gymnastics skills. But the main reason I really like it is because of the injury prevention aspect, but it's nice to know which skills these muscles help with as well. Let's do 2 more of this. See, so that was it. I'm just going to take a moment to explain just a little bit more with my pelvis model what we just did. So like I mentioned before, most gymnasts are going to have what we call that anterior pelvic tilt, which is going to be like this. And if we do the exercises we just did, what ends up happening is these are our proximal hamstrings right beneath the pelvis. They're going to start to tip that pelvis back. And one cool thing that we can actually use to see if it worked is we can try a toe touch. So just standing up, you can try reaching down and touching your toes. Ideally, you would do this before and after the moves.
But if you just ran through that circuit and you find, oh my gosh, I can touch my toes more easily than I would have thought, given that I haven't stretched yet today, then that's showing you right there that it does improve the range of motion. And so obviously stretching is great, but we don't want to necessarily have to stretch as much all the time, because it's more powerful if we can actually reorient our pelvis and then would already be set up in a better position so that we'd already be more flexible before we even stretched. And then stretching will just give us that little bit of extra. So that was my last set of tips for you guys with this muscle group. And I do find that when we work on these movements, we're able to then find it better in our conditioning. So things like heel drives, leg curls, deadlifts, arch ups, any of those things, you can, once you've really addressed the muscle here, you can tend to find those muscles better when you do your regular gymnastics conditioning too. So I find that it's pretty powerful, and it's a nice way to kind of give your body that extra edge, which can increase our power and our skills, as well as help reduce risk of injury. So that's all I really had to say with all this stuff. If anybody has questions about proximal hamstring, feel free to ask. I'll also field questions in regards to your diastasis type questions. As I said before, working on these muscles can really help a diastasis, because when our pelvis is, once again, here, it's going to put a lot of pressure out in the front on our stomach. And so by helping reorient here, it's going to take some of that tension off. So any questions about hamstrings, the exercise we did today, diastasis, I'm good for. I'll hang out for a minute or so and see if anyone has any questions. And I'll check the chat as well. It looks like somebody just said thank you, which is awesome. Thanks, Rose. Yeah, the recording. I know sometimes it's like really fast, and I try to strike a balance between boring people and like not going too fast, but I might have been really fast today. But yes, the recording should be helpful, and I will make sure that you get that. Oh, you're welcome, Betsy. I'm glad you were able to watch. So if anyone's sore tomorrow, don't be surprised, because it's like, it doesn't always feel like a lot, but it's just something different. And I find that it can make us kind of sore. All right, well, I'm going to pop off then. I will be doing some more conditioning type calls, and so you guys can be on the lookout for that. I hope everyone has an awesome night, and thanks so much for joining. Bye.